What's good, people? It's your boy Twale, here to bring you a review for Kingdom Chapter 603, entitled A Change on Day 15. This chapter didn't have a lot of action, but it did give us a lot of payout. So first, we see Raboku and his army, or at least the people we know, like Fute and Kane, and those two older looking generals with the spikes on their helmets. They're getting into formation, and Fute is like, wait, like he's not like believing the orders because like as far as he knew, all they needed to do was defend, and Raboku was changing to, as he called it, some super offensive formation that Raboku rarely uses. So if this is a formation that's super offensive and Raboku rarely uses these types of formations, he's you know what I'm saying he's reasonably concerned about the orders being wrong. But his men tell him no. We checked multiple times. These are the orders, and they're using something called the crane formation. Now we slide back. Well, we get a little pen with Kane with the same type of thoughts as like what could possibly have happened to make Raboku change his plan so suddenly. And then we go back to we go back to Raboku, where they have a flashback of the messenger telling him that Earl Choki is asking that he disengage here at the Shukai Plains and go directly for Gyo. This way they can liberate Gyo from Konki before the city collapses in on itself due to no food and riots and things of that nature. So I was really happy about, not really happy, but I was happy that we actually got the information that I asked for last chapter about how they were getting these messages out, even if it was via bird. Like, we don't see birds land at Raboku's HQ. We see an actual human foot soldier run up with the messages. So it makes more sense that they send a bird from Gyo to Kantan because they can't get a physical body out of Gyo. So they send a bird from Gyo to Kantan, and then from Kantan they send a messenger to the Shukai Plains. And I know like that's not like super important, but it was something that I really wanted to have fleshed out because it just didn't like really like hold up to as to how Raboku was getting these messages through a blockade. But now we know it was through the birds, and then the message came from a different city behind them. Raboku's overconfidence in this situation is, I don't want to say overconfidence, but it because he has to try. Like, given the options that they had, they either could have disengaged with the Ocean army and tried to go behind them, like, you know what I'm saying, tried to go around them, leaving their rear flank to be exposed to Ocean and his men, or they can punch through Osen and then go punch through Konki. They can punch through Osen today and then go punch through Konki the next day. And that's what Riboku decided to do, because honestly, the first option didn't really leave them much of a choice. It's like he said, even if they were to like disengage and go around them, Osen would not give them that opportunity and not give them an easy way to get to Gyo, you know what I'm saying, all willy nilly. So they have to fight and they have to destroy him today. But what really got to me was the fact that Raboku, and I guess like he's just trying to keep people calm in his camp. He's just trying to keep everybody level headed. But like the way that man just said, okay, the man Earl Choki, the leader, the Lord of Gyo, is requesting that you disengage right now and come save them right now because riots will break out in half a day, and he wouldn't be able to control. Like the message said that a riot would break out pretty soon because there was no more food, and that a half a day after the riots broke out, Gyo would fall to the Queen. It would fall to Konki. Raboku really said in his mind, well, not in his mind, no, he said it out loud to everybody. Earl Choki can hold things down for 3 days. It's like, bruh, the man himself is asking for your immediate immediate attention and rescue. Not in 3 days, not in 2 days, not tomorrow. He asks you to come immediately. So Raboku is just putting like Ibuku is putting high hopes on this guy, and from what we've seen, he is a pretty like decent lord. Like, you know what I'm saying, he cares about the people of his country. That's why they're in this predicament, because he cared enough to open his gates to 9 cities worth of refugees. But at the same time, Raboku is vastly overestimating Earl Choki's abilities as well as his own, because he thinks that in one day of battle he can break through the entirety of the Ocean army, which doesn't add up, doesn't make any sense. On top of that, he expects the man that just begged for help to be able to last 3 days without said help, based off the fact that it takes a day for a messenger, it takes a full day for a message to get from Gyo to where they're at the Shukai Plains. But if that's the case, and you know that it took a day already, that means the entirety of day 14 they had no food, or relatively no food. So that means now on day 15 they're even worse for wear, because if you remember, the food stores got burned at the nighttime of day 13 or the morning of day 14. So the day that Shin killed Chogaryu, the people of Gyo should have been eating the very last of their food stores. And like I said before, civilians and citizens, elderly folks, unless they have someone who can raise their morale like a king or like a prime minister or something like that, they're not going to be able to just hold out and weather hunger pains for 3 days like Shin and them have. Like, they don't have that hardiness about them. They're civilians. They're not war. You know what I'm saying? They're not warriors. So that's going to be a lot harder for them. But anyway, they continue on with their offensive formation because they really don't have any other option. Even Osen admits that. Even Raboku admits that Osen put him in this predicament because, you know what I'm saying, they like this is something that Osen set up, and even Osen was like, yo, that small glimpse of a triumph that I devised in front of Gyo is finally taking shape in front of me. So that means that the man who does not go into war unless he's 100% certain that he could win that war, or that he's going to win that war, like, for him to base everything off of what, 20 minutes sitting in front of Gyo while Akko and them was just protecting his back. Like, this is the type of thing that puts Osen above, say, a Shohei-kun or Raboku. It's the fact that he can come up with on-the-spot plans, and they be so far, like, thinking ahead. Like, just think about that. From the moment he left Retsubi and devised that plan in front of Gyo, aside from, like, Mako being killed and Akko being wounded, everything else is pretty much gone to his plan. Yotanwa wasn't even supposed to destroy the Ryoyu army or absorb them. She was just supposed to stall them, but she absorbed them, lost a good chunk of her army, but with Kwangrong had over 100,000 people, so she more than made up for her loss in numbers with these new guys that she got. And they got the city. So now they have another base within Zao territory, and if I'm not mistaken, it's in the Taikoku mountain range, which is right there at the border of Quinn and Zao. So if Yotanwa can spread her influence throughout that entire mountain range and absorb all of the smaller mountain tribe factions, or, you know what I'm saying, whatever was going on in that area, if she can absorb all of those smaller troops and smaller tribes into her faction and control that mountain range, then Zao is completely fucked. Because even if Sensuiju holds on to Retsubi, he's going to be flanked from both sides, because they can come at him from the mountain range, and then they can come at him from Gyo once they take Gyo and to open up the supply routes. So, Sensuiju is relatively fucked. Depending on how Hara writes it, of course, but he could be getting flanked. We then flash over to Shin and them, to Ten, and they're pushing through making decent, making decent pace. They're pushing through, and Kario 10 notices that the Zhao's left wing is putting up a better fight than she thought because for two reasons. One, Banaji is not a scrub when it comes to strategy and tactics. He wasn't on Chogaryu's level, but he's still Raboku's vassal, and he's still one of Raboku's like top deputies. So if I'm not mistaken, it was like Kesha, him, and Sensuiju is like Raboku's three top dudes. So he's, you know what I'm saying, he's not a scrub when it comes to battle tactics and strategy and things like that. So he tells his men and the remnants of the Gakurai army and the remnants of the Chogaryu and Gyoun's army, he tells them, yo, let's retreat for a little bit. We're going to back up slightly behind us, not to where Raboku is, but behind, like, we're just going to back up all the way. And he said that he would make his intentions known once they fully backed up. And Kario 10, after getting the reports that Banaji and the Gakurai army are backing up, that she's a decent, like, not even decent, she's a good strategist. So she understood on the spot, like, nah, he's not retreating. It was too quick. It was too easy for that. He's not retreating. This is a tactical retreat. I mean, well, we're not beating him back. This is a tactical retreat. He's falling back so that if we go to pincer Raboku, he can then pincer us, and this way he and his army in the Zhao left wing are still a threat to the overall battlefield. And Kario 10 like runs a couple like ideas through ahead, like, yeah, we could split up our forces, mostly like mainly leave like the Akko army and the Gokyu-Ho unit, and have them stall the Banaji and Gakurai army while Shin and the Haishin unit and whoever else goes to flank Raboku's left, his right wing. But then she also thinks to herself, if they do that, if they split their armies up to cover Banaji and to cover, like, to shield them from Banaji's flank, will they have enough to flank Raboku in general? Like, will they have enough manpower to do it? And before that, like, can even be before that can even be like really assessed and thought about anymore, here we get Gyoun just coming through with his 6 spears. I believe that's how many is left, because they said that the kid with the mace in Uhon's group killed at least 4 of them, and we don't know if any more of them died in the battle yesterday. But yeah, the Gyoun and his 6 spears come through, and like it shocked both Banaji and Kario 10, because they like, yo, he just told niggas to fall back, and she was expecting them all to fall back to formulate a better plan, which didn't happen. So Gyoun coming right at them and then saying to bring him Shin and Uhon. I don't know if he wants to duel them. Again, if Gyoun is calling them to duel, then give the kill to Uhon. He was the one that got the big injury on Gyoun, and honestly, we didn't even see Uhon last chapter, so I don't even know if he's in fighting condition. I know they said he wasn't, but you know what I'm saying, he was just barely good enough to get on a horse. But we've seen people like Kyokai barely good enough to get on a horse and still kill people. So I don't know if him and Shin tag teaming Gyoun would be. I wouldn't like that very much, because I didn't like it when Banaji and Gyoun tag team Akko. I didn't like it when I thought Shin and Uhon were gonna tag team Gakurai. I didn't like it. So I don't want them to tag team Gyoun, but I don't want Shin to get the kill either, because if Shin kills Gyoun, then that's 3 generals under his head, possibly 1 great general, because Gyoun was pretty good. Like, you know what I'm saying, Gyoun is pretty good when it comes to strategy and tactics, but his instincts is not that far off from, like, say, Dukyo's, and his martial might is up there. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that Gyoun is a great general level opponent. Now, if he kills Gyoun and he's already killed Chogaryu and Gakurai, and then let's just say he doesn't even kill Hoken, but then duels Hoken again to the point where Hoken has to retreat and they have to run away. he doesn't kill Hoken, but he cuts one of his arms off or something like that. Like that would just be way too much. Even though Issei told them to make their names roar and resonate throughout all of China, it's like, yeah, Shin has done that already. Like after this war, when people like Karin and people like Gahome and whoever else is like observing the battle, when they get the reports about what happened, they're gonna say, just like in the Battle of Sanya, they're gonna be like, yeah, the reason why Osen won. It's like not because Osen's strategies was A1 too, but the real reason why Osen won was because Moten was able to to hold the left wing together. Because if Moten wasn't able to do that, they get flanked by the Kisui army on day one, even with the Gyo food stores and the refugees and spies and all of that. Even if you get flanked and swamped on your first day, you don't even have a chance to let that come to fruition. So that's, you know what I'm saying, Moten saved the day there. Shin saved the day killing Gakurai, killing Chogaryu, crippling the Gyo-un army a significant portion with his awakening, and then the battle after that when they went to go attack Uhon. So Shin and Moten are making their names known. They are like resonating through China. Uhon hasn't done anything. He flanked Banaji, like he got away from Chogaryu and flanked Banaji, and that was it. The awakening. It's like, yeah, his men, you know what I'm saying? He awoken his men with a speech and he flanked Banaji on the left. But other than that, he hasn't bagged a general. He hasn't, the flanking strategy wasn't even all of that impressive. Not that it wasn't impressive, but it wasn't like a crazy strategy. He just literally pushed his men as far and as fast as they can go around to hit them from the left. And yeah. So I'm not trying to knock what Uhon has done, but compared to Moten and Shin, he needs to step up if he wants to, if he's gonna fulfill his role in making his name resonate throughout China. Because right now, like I said, if you compare their feats, who's really gonna be talking about what Uhon did in the Shukai Plains? Oh yeah, he injured Gyo-un. I forgot that he did injure Gyo-un. He injured Gyo-un. I don't even want to call it crippling Banaji's army, because Banaji was effective and was in the front and was doing damage every day of this war. Granted, Roboku had to tell him how to get through Akko's formation, but still, for a crippled army to be the one that breaks through this top-notch formation, it's not really crippled. So, yeah, that's really where I'm at with that. Wasn't really too much. Again, Roboku got into his new formation, his offensive crane formation, the great crane formation. Let me not disrespect it. Osen seen this and he decides to move into an all offensive formation. Kind of confused me because I figured with Roboku going on defense, you would try to weather the storm by going in on offense, but I mean, you try to weather the storm by going in on defense to just hunker down like he was doing, because I really wanted to see what Osen's version of that Akko defense was. But next chapter should be really good. Next chapter should start off the battle. So-O and his lieutenant, who I believe is a female now, because we got an actual closer panel of her face, and she has lipstick and the hair covering part of her face like that. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like a very feminine art design. So I want to say So-O's lieutenant with the fish fin helmet, I want to say that's a female, but they was discussing why Roboku switched his formation. They also commented that it wasn't a friendly looking formation, but that the only reason why they would switch to offense is because something major has happened, and that something major being Gyo. And So-O was just like, yeah, Osen's a terrifying man, because he knows that there's no one else who could have thought of something that would have changed the battlefield this drastically. So that everybody's getting prepared for battle. Like I said, the Center Army is about to get into an all-out war. The left, or the Quinn right wing, is still pushing through, but they got stonewalled by Banaji. I mean, not Banaji, by Gyo-un and his Ryun. Roboku claims that they have 3 days left at the minimum. Even I don't know how he came to that number under the assumption and the hope and wishes that Earl Chokey can keep the peace within the city for another 2 days or 3 days, even after telling you, I need you to come now. So again, like, it's overconfidence in Raboku's part, and then it's just like, sure, like, I guess stupidity on his part too, because if the man himself is telling you, come now, I need your help now, for you to then say, yeah, he can last another 3 days at least, is like, I guess, I don't know, I guess it's like a morale thing. He doesn't want to say, yeah, we lost this war, because you can't, like, I don't see him breaking through Ocean's army in a single day. If he breaks through Ocean's army in a single day, then that just makes Ocean's army look so pathetic. So pathetic. But then again, if they're not able to break through in a single day, then you lost the war. So I hope it's intriguing. I want to see where Hoken is right now. I want to see what Moten is doing with Kisui right now, and I want to see, um, damn, what was his name? I want to see, not his name. Well, yeah, Konki too, but I want to see what Yotangwa is doing, because she should be able to, like, I don't want to say feel the shift in battle, but she should be able to catch glimpses or like send scouts out to get more information. She shouldn't just be hunkered down in the city, literally waiting for somebody to come like give her the good news. Like, she should be out there actively trying to figure something out. So that's just my hopes and thoughts on the chapter. Like, comment, and subscribe if you do. And peace. And see you for the next one.